In today's TRICS how-to video, I'm going to be showing you how to produce a trip rate report on the new TRICS 8 system. The first thing we're going to need to do is select our land use by. This can be done by either our active land uses, we can search for a land use, or use our land use archive. We then need to choose our main land use from the drop-down menu shown on screen. For our example, we're going to be choosing our residential land use. We can then select our sub-land use from the drop-down menu. We're going to be using houses privately owned. The next thing we can do is choose whether we want our vehicle trip rates or multimodal trip rates. The number of surveys for each of these selections are shown in the green box and the number next to the trip rate. If we click on multimodal trip rates, you can see that the number in the green box changes. We're going to be selecting vehicle trip rates for our example. Once you're happy with your selections, you can click Next. We can now start our primary filtering process. The first thing we need to do is choose what we want our trip rate parameter to be. With the residential development, you can choose between site area, number of dwellings, housing density, and total bedrooms. For our example, we're going to be using number of dwellings as our trip rate parameter. We then need to choose our parameter range. We're going to say that our development has 100 houses in it, so we can set a minimum parameter of 50 and a maximum parameter of 150. And you can see our selected average is 95, which is close to 100, and our manual survey count says we have 74 sites in the dataset. There are many other parameters that you can also choose to narrow it down further, but we're going to keep this example simple. You may notice this red warning exclamation mark. If you see this, it means the current parameter goes against TRICS good practice. Clicking on it will explain why this is the case. After reading, we're going to deselect weekend data, so we're only left with weekday data. And as you can see, the red exclamation mark has disappeared. We're then going to move on to our location types. Our site is set in an edge of town location, which has 43 surveys, so we're going to deselect all location types that aren't edge of town. We're also going to choose a subcategory. Our site is set within a residential zone, so once again we're going to deselect all subcategories that aren't residential zone, which leaves us with 29 manual count surveys. We're also going to deselect any ATC surveys, which means we'll be able to see the breakdown of vehicles at the end of our trip rate report. Once we're happy with our primary filtering, we can click Next to move on to our secondary filtering. We can now move on to our secondary filtering process. These filters include a use class, population within 1 mile, and population within 5 mile filters, as well as a travel plan, car ownership, and PCAL rating filters. These can be particularly useful if your site isn't within or close to a large city, or if your site isn't close to or within a rural area. We're going to be removing the lowest and the highest populations within the two filters. Once the system recognizes that we've done this, our manual survey count will drop from 29 to 20. Once you're happy with your secondary filtering, you can click Next. We are now at our summary page. You can click on these two drop-down menus which shows all of the filtering and parameters that we've done throughout the process. The site selection area allows you to select or deselect sites. Clicking on an empty box will include it within the dataset. If you wish to remove it, you can click on the tick box and give a good reason why the site is being deselected. The survey selection area shows all of the sites that will be included within the dataset. Those that aren't selected are shown, as well as the reason why they have been removed. Once you're happy with all of the sites that have been included within the dataset, you can click Calculate Trip Rate, which takes you to the trip rate table. Here you can view all of the trip rates by total vehicle, as well as any individual mode that is included throughout all of the surveys. To export your trip rate report, click on Export. Here you can choose all of the additional trip rates, as well as a filtering summary, enhanced site list, include the trip rate graph for all arrivals, departures and totals, a key period trip rate, as well as any user comments that you wish to add to the report. You can also download the report as a CSV. Once you're happy with everything, click OK and the report will automatically start to download. Once the report is downloaded, you'll be able to view the new TRICS 8 PDF format. If you ever have any problems within the trip rate process, please contact us on support@trics.org.